Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters, ladies and gentlemen, all of you lovely folk here, and of course, all of you watching from home. We already have one finalist we just found out. Of course, Sue going on to the final, securing his spot in Katowice next year, but also still going for a chance at another tournament win. But who's going to stand up to him? Who's going to have a shot at blocking him from that trophy? It's time to find out with our second semi-final. First up, this man, he's been at the Intel Extreme Masters before. In fact, he has been a champion for the Intel Extreme Masters, but it's been some time. A couple years, in fact, has passed, but can he do it again here in Cologne, Germany? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome MMA! And his opponent. A lot of us like to call him the Machine or the Robot Terran, and it's not just because of how awesome he is in game, but that is a big part of it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Innovation! Two Terrans left to find out who is worthy enough to battle against Sue on the final stage. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the second semifinal, and we're about to find out which will be our final matchup. Will it be Sue versus Innovation or Sue versus MMA? It starts now.
A former champion takes on one of the best Terran players in the world in one of the most awkward handshakes we could have possibly seen, as these two former teammates go head-to-head here in the Intel Extreme Masters for the second semi-final. Joining me on the desk this time is Pig, Moonglade, and of course, Rossi. Welcome to the desk, boys. What a semi-final we have coming, Roddy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the previous one was very good already, and this one has potential to be that good, if not even better. TvZ can absolutely be a phenomenal matchup, and especially when two players of this caliber go against each other.
I remember I spoke to Innovation yesterday a little bit, Moonglade, and I said to him, this should be an easy semi-final. He told me, wait, well, I think it's going to be closer than you imagine.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised he said that, considering he's already lost to Fantasy in this tournament. He barely got past 4GG. Like, he's struggling with his Terran vs Terran right now, and MMA is like a different breed once again of the TvZ. He's got his own style. He's much different to who he's been facing so far.
Well, I mean, I think in raw skill, you have to be favoring Innovation, but I think the mind game aspect of it, the tricky side of StarCraft, and kind of abusing and exploiting an opponent, that has to favor MMA going in.
Certainly so. I mean, that's pretty much the name of the game when it comes to MMA. He's very aggressive with his more bio tank style. He loves multi-prong attacks, multi-drops. He's going to try and pull Innovation apart with the incredible aggression more than anything else.
You agree or disagree with that, Pig?
I think so. I think he's got to find the opening. We saw 4GG. He almost took down Innovation with his own unique way of taking some risks and then doing some really crazy strong attacks. We also saw Fantasy go down, take him out just through some really great positioning. There was some base trades that happened. Really clever play from Fantasy there. But we didn't ever really see someone go brute on, front on, positioning late game, because Innovation is so strong if he gets there.
He's so strong, but he's had a bit of a shaky tournament, but so is MMA. MMA has not had the cleanest of tournaments so far. He's obviously made it to the semi-finals, but it hasn't been mind-blowing. It hasn't been super convincing, and he hasn't beaten the tough opponents yet.
No, he didn't, but he's still in. And if there's one thing that MMA has always had, it's a little bit of that killer instinct. He has won so many tournaments. He's kind of like an old school MC when it comes to that part. He knows how to win tournaments, and he's also won very big TvZ series before when he wasn't the favorite. Think about BlizzCon last year when he went up against Bomber, who hadn't lost a TvZ in like forever. Everyone's like, man, Bomber is going to make it to the semifinals, finals perhaps. And MMA just said, no, not today. And MMA had a run that surprised so many people, making it to the finals of BlizzCon BlizzCon 2014. He just has the X factor, man. MMA has always had the X factor.
He has, and he needs to bring it out right now because it's not just the Intellectual Masters tournament life on the line. It's his entire 2015 career. He's talked about possible retirement at the end of the year. He wants to play at the global finals for WCS at the end of the year at BlizzCon. But right now, he is nowhere near playing right now. He's ranked 30-ish, 31, 32. That's not good enough to play out the World Finals.
Yeah, I think he's in that position where he has to find that confidence. He has to find that X factor. The one thing which characterizes this whole set for me is I was watching them both practice before the tournament even began.
Yeah.
And MMA won the first map they practiced, and he looked so happy. He had this big smile, a bit of a fist bump. And he was like, "Yeah, all right." And then Innovation kind of crushed him the next game. And there was just no emotion on Innovation's face. He was like, yeah, as expected. And MMA looked like a bit rattled. And I think that's kind of the story of this game is MMA has to play exceptional StarCraft here, but he's been kind of building momentum through the tournament, whereas we've said Innovation's had a lot of scary moments. So I think it's actually quite possible, even though Innovation's very favored, MMA's got a really good shot.
Yeah, well, here's a... What do you think when I say that when Innovation hasn't reached the semi-final since this time last year when he won his GSL championship? What does that say to you?
It's a huge surprise, to be honest, but it also makes sense. He did have that sort of like slump. He kind of disappeared for a while, went back to Korea, resumed his team, SKT, and he kind of been building from there. So I think it's taken him some time to get back into the form he once was before he joined a foreigner team and did a lot of traveling. And he's back there once again, and he should be looking towards this as a pretty big win.
I mean, Innovation's played two massive Terran versus Terrans. You've already mentioned them a little bit. The Lost versus Fantasy early on, and then the Games versus 4GG. That's a ton of information, absolutely huge amounts of information that MMA could have studied overnight as long as he apparently had the fans on overnight, as that was the key to victory on day number 4, apparently. But coming into day number 5, that's so much to grasp from.
Absolutely, and I think it adds a little bit of spice as well to this series that MMA mentioned in some of the previous interviews, because we've already been going for a few days and it's hard to catch everything, so maybe some people missed it. But MMA actually said, he's like, yeah, Innovation is a really big name and he's obviously a great player, but when he travels, like, I'm not that impressed.
Sucks, man.
Yeah, that's basically what he said. So I'm not sure if Innovation even got that information, but if I'm Innovation right now, that would just add fuel to the fire for me. And I'd be like, I'll show you how good I can play in Germany if I truly want to. But I also believe, that's just the type of play that MMA is. And as long as he tells himself that, as long as MMA believes he can win, he can always win. He's like Bolt in that regard.
Yeah, I can't believe that. I mean, it's such a weird way to look at Innovation like that. His robotic play style, his robotic attitude and personality. And it feels like when you take him out of his comfort zone, that's when he's at his weakest. And it comes to just eating the right food and being in the right comfort zone.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense when you look at his personality, though. Like, he is this very shy person who's very comfortable, playing games all the time and becoming really good at them. But when he has to, step outside of that, travel across the world, meet all these foreigners, doesn't speak his language, like...
He doesn't really like traveling. He said it yesterday. He's like,
it's so obvious.
I don't want to travel 20 hours to a tournament if
Absolutely.
I'm not 100% in form. And I mean, he traveled here, but Roddy, who was the last time Innovation lost to when he was in Germany? You remember?
Yeah, of course. Our very own Johan Lucchesi, also known as Naniwa.
Took him out 2-0 in the World Championship Series Season 2 finals. But here is MMA. And that is a face that makes me believe that he can take against Innovation, because he looks like he means business today.
He looks very focused and serious there. MMA has to bring his A game, and I really want to see a couple of tricks out of him. I'd love to see some really crazy builds, but not necessarily, don't just be too afraid to take him on in the macro game as well. You want to be taking edges where you can.
Yep.
But we saw Innovation was adjusting his play very well as he adjusted to 4GG yesterday. In their games, he got better as they went on, and he actually started finding the holes in 4GG's play. So MMA has to come into this with a good range of builds.
I mean, how do you put Innovation off balance? Because I think that may be the key to success for MMA, if I'm not mistaken here, is if MMA plays the game that Innovation wants to play and Innovation gets to do what he wants to do, I think this is going to go Innovation's way. But how do you drag someone to play your game instead of their own?
I think it's certainly a mix of aggression and macro. We did see 4GG, he pretty much went full aggression for 5 games, and it worked 2 of the games, and there were some close ones besides that. I think MMA, he does a different style. He doesn't like the mech as much. As long as he throws in some aggression, tries to stop these very greedy mech builds from Innovation from getting off the ground, as well as, having some games where he just plays a very greedy style of his own, should be a pretty decent mind game for him.
Well, that's a bit interesting because he has been playing mech in practice recently, and it's interesting because we don't think of him as that sort of player. So I was quite surprised to see him do that, and it did seem in those straight-up games, Innovation did have that bit of an edge. So
yeah, that's
maybe
a scary thing.
Mixing some bio play in here could actually give him that mobility, allow him to make more tactical plays.
Interesting way to look at this as well for MMA. He didn't qualify into this tournament. He was invited, and you can turn down an invite when you're not feeling in good shape, and he had to travel from Korea. He could have traveled, he could have played in this tournament, he could have gone out in round 1, and he could have wasted his time where he could have been training for season 3 of GSL. Right now, though, he accepted it, and that kind of is a bit of a confidence boost, like a small, slight confidence booster, right? For everyone who's the fans of MMA.
Especially when you've seen like the bracket that, Sue and Innovation qualified for. You see the qualified players already, you look at that and you're like, all right, I can travel to Germany and give these guys a run for their money. Says a lot about his confidence.
I mean, at the same time, if I was Innovation and I made it through the Asian qualifier, I think I feel pretty confident. Like, okay, I just defeated 5 of the best players in the world. I think I'm also quite ready to go to Germany,
Yeah, Innovation, of course, coming through the Korean qualifier, and then on top of that, the Asian qualifier. And pretty much in the Intel Stream Masters history, the players that come through those qualifiers are the ones usually in the finals. Let's be honest here. Of course, like Hero coming through the qualifiers, he made his name in the Intel Stream Masters after coming out of those brutal qualifiers. And Innovation's done it this time, and that does show his form and show his class. It's good to see Innovation finally breaking through into the semi-finals, because he's played at Intel Stream Masters before, just like MMA has. He's played in 3 other tournaments, finished in the round of 8 3 times in a row, and broke that curse yesterday to finally come into the semi-finals. But let's talk about this matchup then together, because we are very close for this starting. What are we expecting? Are we expecting MMA to come out the gates flying and really hitting hard aggressively? Are we expecting him to take it a bit more cautiously? What could we even see coming out from Innovation?
Well, I think it could most likely be, it's hard to say with TvT because it is very map dependent as well. If we had an idea of like the map list, it would make things probably a little bit easier to predict, but I'm sure we're going to see MMA mix it up a lot. He does not want to play his standard series against Innovation at all.
I mean, how important is map number 1? It must be so important for both sides here. It's the confidence that MMA can build on, knowing that he can beat Innovation. And then it's like, when you look at it in the flip side, it's Innovation like, oh, get out my way. And then the negative aspect of it going into MMA's mind too.
It depends if it's going to go to the late game as well. Like, how does that game play out? Does Innovation like put the foot down from the get-go, have that crazy macro game and steamrolls MMA like we did see in some of those practice games that I actually got to catch up as well? Or can MMA find a way in and kind of rattle Innovation that early on like 4GG did?
All right, well, we're going to have to get some predictions out of you guys. I love this part of it. Big, you're up first, man. We're going to go down from me to you. Over there, Roddy, you start.
The brain says Innovation, but the heart kind of wants MMA, and maybe a 3-2 MMA. Like, I do agree with Brigade, by the way. I think MMA is going to show us a lot of variety in this playstyle, while Innovation is going to be pretty one-dimensional, as he didn't really switch it up a whole lot in his previous TvT. So I just hope that MMA, had some time to study those games, and that he figured it out, and that we are going to see some old-school MMA magic. Like, it would truly excite me.
All right, Moonglades, give me who's winning, the score, and why you believe this guy's going to win. A good convincing argument, please. I want you to convince me so I can join your side.
All right. Well, I'm a bit wish-wash on this one because I think it could go either way, 3-2. I think it's going to be very close because of what we've seen so far from Innovation struggling in TvT, losing to Fantasy and going 3-2 to 4GG. I think MMA is going to look at that. He's going to look at every game that happened, the 3 losses, the 3 wins that Innovation has had in this matchup already.
Okay.
And he's going to learn a lot from it. So either way, 3-2. I think maybe even favored for MMA at this point.
I'm going to take that as an MMA vote.
All right.
Pick your turn.
I have to go in the opposite direction. As much as I would love to see MMA come out here and win this match, make it very close, I think it's a possibility, but if I'm putting money on this, I'm betting on Innovation taking it out 3-1. I think MMA's style right now doesn't allow his strengths to take place against Innovation's, and I think he feels very uncomfortable trying to find weakness there. I think Innovation's going to take this very convincingly 3-1.
Well, why does MMA's strength not play into Innovation well?
I feel like his tactical plays, his mobility is something where MMA could excel. I feel like because he's been focusing on his mech play, I think he's going to struggle in this mech versus mech. And looking at the way Innovation was playing, very calm positional play, and he's very good at applying pressure and making his opponent uncomfortable. I think he's going to be able to put enough pressure on MMA while still playing very defensively and always focusing on that mid to late game. I think the heavy Hellion count that Innovation always goes in really makes it hard for his opponent to find weakness in him. I think from there, it's just going to be a matter of his masterful positional mechanical play.
Okay, just updating you guys at home. The players are finally just getting close to being finished to set up. There's a couple of adjustments that Innovation is making, apparently. So we will jump to the game straight away. Roddy, if it is mech versus mech, though, sure, we can go ahead and say maybe it is Innovation, but MMA has picked up some brilliant mech games himself in the past. I've seen him go toe-to-toe with some of the best mech players in the world. But this guy has made his name off playing Bio, and I don't think he's going to be afraid to show it today either.
No, I don't think so either. And I also think you should play into your own strengths. And Innovation probably has a lot more experience in playing mech versus mech. So why wouldn't you want to do just what you always do? And that is, if your name is MMA, you play Bio. Maybe one game max two, I would say he plays mech. But in general, I am expecting him to play Bio. And then it just all comes to, will he find openings? You know, will he be able to find a weakness? Will he be able to have a better build order? Because the opening that Innovation went for multiple times, the Viking into the Raven or the Raven into the Viking, it didn't seem super solid. I mean, obviously it's very good and it will be able to come out victorious in a lot of scenarios, but I think someone as smart and with the amount of experience that MMA has, I think he's able to come up with something. And if he throws Innovation off that game plan and Innovation is only going to be forced to switch it up a little bit, I truly believe things can swing into MMA's favor.
So looking at Innovation against 4GG real fast here, in the quarterfinals that we saw, the 3-2 victory that Innovation picked over, why did Innovation not look as good as usual, though? Was it the way that 4GG played so aggressively towards him that he wasn't adjusting correctly? What do you think?
I think there was certainly a lot of surprises for Innovation going into that. He kind of, in the interview afterwards, he said he knew what 4GG was capable of and what he could do.
Right.
But still, he was dropping these games because of these early engagements. 4GG really kind of set the momentum early on, and he'd always catch Innovation out.
You can say the same for MMA, though, right? Like, he knows what MMA is capable of. But
that's right. That's very true. It's really about how MMA approaches it. Can he try and avoid being detected, what he wants to do until it's actually in his base? That early aggression that the mech player can't really see coming.
All right, well, very close to starting this game. Sorry, guys, for the little bit of delay. We're just waiting for the players to get sorted out, and we'll jump into that immediately here.
We can talk a little bit about the maps as well. Of course, one of the things that I keep bringing up is there's a new map pool. There's some crazy maps. We've got Moonlight Madness in the pool, might get seen. This is a best-of-5 format, right?
Yeah.
Each player can only veto once. We saw before, Innovation really liked to go for the multiple Reaper openings on there. And against 4GG, it got shut down very fast. He lost his first Reaper, but I really want to see how that play unfolds when he doesn't lose the first Reaper and he actually is able to get some edges with those Reapers, really scout out exactly what his opponent's doing. I think that's going to be really cool. Also, maps like Bridgehead being in there.
Yeah.
I don't think I've even seen a TVT on Bridgehead yet.
Well, I mean, how important is the maps for either side here? Is it even something that is super important or not important at all?
Yeah, I think it's very important. I mean, we even saw that in the previous series on Bridgehead, where the one time he tried to play mech and you have double destructible rocks. It's like, well, your mech units are out of position. On some other maps, you can still buy a little bit of time for yourself. Bridgehead is just too big for that. And that goes a little bit for TVT as well. Yeah,
I mean, ZVT and TVT in terms of, Bio versus mech does have a lot of the similar properties based on how the map is laid out. If it's too spread out, the bases are too exposed, tanks aren't going to cover everything, and they're going to be very weak in certain places. So the Bio sort of tank Terran can take advantage of it as well.
So if we think about that Iron Fortress, let's assume Innovation is saying, I want to play mech, I'm the defender, I'm expecting maybe some Bio's going to come out here. I think you're going to veto Iron Fortress or a Bridgehead, one of those.
Yeah.
But one of those maps is still going to remain in there. Your bases are going to be very spread out. It's going to give a lot of options for the sort of mobile aggression from the Bio player. So it's going to be interesting to see how Innovation handles that.
Yeah, we could definitely see a lot of varied styles from MMA based on the map specifically as well. Not always going to be Bio. Surely he was practicing mech as well. Pretty much like every Terran is these days. So I think it'll be a lot of this match is going to be determined by the maps.
What are you thinking over there, Roddy? I see you smiling away.
No, I was just wondering if we are going to see Dash Terminal. I think that would be amazing. And then I was smiling to myself, how many missile turrets would Innovation throw up to make sure that no medevacs fly into his main base? But I kind of imagine him vetoing Dash Terminal, also because in the Korean leagues it hasn't been used in a while. And Innovation has always struck me as the guy that only practices on the maps that he's actually playing. Not playing it, veto it, not practice, don't bother at all.
That's a weakness for him then, pretty much, right? Coming into this.
Yeah, potential.
All right, well, thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your patience back at home, as we are now officially ready to begin the second semi-final here at the Entire Extreme Masters in Gamescom. Let's head to the commentary for this one. It's the old classic combo of Todd and Kalaris.
Thank you very much, boys. I feel like they've said everything already before we even get into this series. They were feeling like champs, basically, whilst these players took a while taking the veto very, very seriously, because in the end here, in Terran versus Terran, MMA and Innovation have wild styles against one another.
Absolutely. You know, they talked a lot about on the desk about how this very well may be a matchup of Bio against Meg there, and I guess we're gonna find out if MMA wants to play it this way.
Yes, we are. Let's get into it. It's going to be a best-of-5 semi-finals to determine who is moving on to the grand finals. As we have spawning up to the top left-hand corner, it is our blue Terran. Representing SK Telecom T1, it is Innovation. And down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have our red Terran. Having spent so much time here in Europe, having spent so much time in Korea as well. He's the golden boy of Apollo. It is Acer MMA.
Innovation here is he's coming into this match, I feel, as a favorite. You know, I went on Aligulac, and there is this this thing where like you can type two players' name. It's called Inference.
Yeah.
And I type both players' name, and it says that Innovation has a 74.60% chance to win. So
wow.
Usually, you know, they say stats don't lie, but I feel like maybe it's not as extreme as this. You know, maybe some people would disagree. And in this case, Innovation showcased a lot of how he likes to play against Terran in Mirror there. He likes to go for that gas on 13 a lot rather than just 12 like most other Terrans. And in this case, there we go again. He likes to go into a Raven, delays his cloak Banshee timing, gets a Widowmine if he sees a gas first, and he almost always goes for that scout right there. That makes him predictable. As solid as it is a build, if you're predictable in StarCraft 2, there is always going to be a counter to what you're doing. So in the end, even though he's trying to play really solid, I feel like MMA, obviously he will have done his homework. And I feel like this match is definitely comparable to when MMA had to face MVP in the finals of BlizzCon once upon a time. And he came into it very well prepared. He knew that MVP kind of struggled against non-standard builds, and all-ins in particular. Threw in a bunch of all-ins. Next thing you know, he's the champion.
Yeah.
So now, similar situation, I feel here against Innovation.
That's a really good analysis of the situation, Todd. And in the end, you know, even after this early game here of Innovation can be predictable, his later stages of the games are oftentimes predictable as well because he likes the mech so much.
Yeah.
I saw him in practice just before, watching from behind his shoulder, seeing exactly how he's going to play it out. We know that Innovation is probably going to be approaching this series as well as next series with mech if, you know, he ends up getting to that position. It's just a case of whether MMA can shut down or not. And on Terraform to start things off here, Todd, do you reckon a bio-style from MMA or him even going to mech himself, do you reckon the bio-style though itself could kind of run rings around Innovation if he's not too careful?
I think he can play bio pretty much anywhere, but he needs to have a very specific plan in terms of how he wants to be aggressive with it. Because obviously, you know, there is no way he can go for bio and just sit back with it against mech. You know, if he lets Innovation max out, MMA is going to be in so much trouble was he to go into bio. So I think if he goes into bio, it's going to be a lot about drops and, like, you know, attacking from multiple sides, like we've seen a lot in the past. You know, hitting those timings where defending for the mech player is going to be really hard between the natural and third base, while setting up for the defense with, you know, some turrets or some stuff in the main. And in this case, MMA is definitely one of the best guys to try and pull off this kind of stuff. Innovation here, pretty sure this is going to be a Raven in a second. Does he get a Hellion or a Widowmine though?
Nope. Widowmine is going to be the choice. So that makes him extra safe in terms of the lockdown if we see MMA trying to put on anything aggressive. His starport itself is a little bit later than usual because he has gone for that command center after all of this. And we'll see what MMA wants to go for, because right now it's actually going to be the Banshee opener here for Innovation. I like, oh, wait, how much did he see? He did see everything.
Yeah, that's a big deal, because like MMA is going to know exactly that there's going to be a cloak Banshee headed across the map here in a second. He's going to get his own starport here very quickly. So I think he might just go for a Raven himself and get a bunch of turrets to make sure he doesn't take any damage against this, or at least minimizes the damage that he might take. MMA, though, he's going to be playing the Widowmine roulette, where like you pick a position, you put it somewhere, and you kind of hope that your opponent flies into it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good spot in the shrubbery just against that crevasse there. And MMA is choosing to go all the way down to this bottom corner. Is he going to put it behind this cooling tower, something? No, okay, so he's just going to put it right behind the mineral line.
That's some serious meta.
Yeah.
He brings it back.
Oh, where's he going?
He's much better around here, yeah, to be honest.
Scuttle.
Oh, that is actually out of range.
Yeah.
Of where the Banshee's going to be flying in.
He diverted its path. Oh, he's going to... Well, okay, never mind. The medevac. So, picks it up and moves it on in there. At least both players have seen exactly what is going to be hitting them very soon. That missile turret in between all of that production. Fantastic coverage on that.
The Vikings are about a little bit more than halfway through down there for MMA. He's going to start on taking some damage here and lose some SCVs. He loses a single one here so far. And behind this, Innovation starts a Raven. Pretty much as always. That Widowmine drop though across the map. He's about to fly into some Marines.
Oh. And yeah, it should be shut down pretty quickly here. Even if he tried to drop the Widowmine, it wouldn't be able to burrow in time before the Marines would kill it off.
And so far, a very good defense here, I think, from both players, really minimizing their losses.
Yeah.
Only a very few units have died, and so far they were all MMA's units.
And seeing him poking around with these Banshees, second one's going to fly on in. Any little bit of damage he can do will be good. That's a Widowmine connection.
Yeah.
Gets himself 2 kills, just on a few Marines by the looks of things.
Good snipe there, really good snipe by MMA. It's actually going to pick up and drop in the main. There's still that Widowmine down the ramp that's going to force the scan here out of Innovation, so MMA, he's finding room here to do a little bit of damage finally, after initially losing quite a few units and really not killing that much. Actually, no, he doesn't force the scan. Innovation eventually got his Raven.
Yeah, and should see maybe scans be forced here briefly. If he goes too far forward, so he will be in range of those missile turrets. That one next to the production was giving that Viking a little bit of a heads up.
MMA, it is going to be bio here out of him, and I think he fully knows that since Innovation loves to go for mech and he's probably going to go for mech once again, a good thing that you can do is get that third command center, which wasn't spotted yet. So Innovation, he cannot start and adjust here already, you know, because obviously if you realize that your opponent's going for that third base this quick, there's a few timings that you can hit. Either that or you can play really greedy yourself. And in this case, MMA is going to be pretty happy to already be on 38 SCVs against just 35.
Yeah, exactly. That earlier command center really helped out. Didn't take too much damage at all. Really good lockdown by him. And it comes back to what you were saying before about his mentality going into TvT series.
Yeah.
In high octane situations, he makes magic happen sometimes, and it's almost always MMA that's able to do it. He has some kind of wizardry that he can make happen in this matchup sometimes.
If you think about it, actually, what's MMA best at? It's really those drops.
Yeah.
The thing is, Innovation so far has looked very solid in almost any situation, so I'm pretty sure that, you know, later on in this game he's going to be adding on turrets, sensor towers, trying to make sure that he doesn't get dropped. But against somebody like MMA, all you need is one mistake. You're out of position one time, your main is exposed, he finally goes for the drop, he's almost always going to do enough damage to take a serious lead. So Innovation, there is no room for mistakes. Actually, that drop over there is looking pretty dangerous. There is a chance he might be able to get a cancel here on that third command center because he was dropped on location, which is a big gamble there from Innovation.
Well, and looking to just have his aggression kind of solidify that position to the left, but as you said, you know, being able to spot that quickly for MMA is great. The Raven's here though. He does have air dominance because of that Raven, because of the heightened Viking number, and this is a nice little drop here by Innovation to start shaking things up a little bit. Not exactly the expected attack angle that you would see here from Innovation, but he's on top of this army. If he could, actually there's not much anti-air there. He could have maybe wiggled around to those tanks, but he's got to be careful of that missile turret at the back.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure not to overextend. MMA flying across the map here, going to be dropping some Marines in natural to try and get some kills, but there's already some Hellions here for the defense from Innovation. So far, every single one of these attacks, you know, a few units die here and there, but nothing too much. Only 3 SCVs have died in this game for 2 guys that have been throwing units and drops at each other for the entire game.
Yeah.
That's actually incredible.
I'm expecting this one to go for the long haul, really. With MMA, you can guarantee for this day, you know, after having quite a chunk of time to be able to prepare for this, he's going to have been thinking about it all night long, studying into what Innovation's going to do, because that's the kind of mentality MMA has.
Medivac drop there, it's just going to be a few Marines. Killing a few SCVs here is nice, definitely, if you can achieve that. MMA, just a few SCVs. Actually, 1 single SCV ahead, and a little bit of army ahead as well. And now Steam Pack concussive shells complete as well. But Innovation is already on 3 bases himself. So 3 base against 3 base, you're going to be pretty happy here if you're Innovation.
Wow. Sees that winner mine as well. Ooh. And we'll drop the scan to clean up after it has been detonated. And the thing is that MMA, we've said a lot about him in the past, and one thing that he says about himself is he likes to drive his opponents crazy with those kind of drop potentials, those drop plays. So as much as he is moving through the middle of the map at the moment, yes, he'll still try and end up looking for a little bit of aggression elsewhere, trying to lure his opponent's army out of one spot and then maybe try and hit somewhere else eventually.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like that, but like I said, Innovation was going to get ready, and now he's got a sensor tower in the main that's going to be, I guess, spotting anything that's headed his way from a very, very far away distance.
Yeah.
Gets one at the 3rd base as well, and I really, really like this. I feel like if you don't do this, you're really exposing yourself, you know, to these drops, doing a lot of damage. He's actually trying to catch something there on the right-hand side, fully knowing that there is a chance MMA could be setting up for it.
Exactly. I mean, the sensor towers, they're one of the ways to stop MMA driving you crazy, right? I mean, he can shut down. He can make sure that there aren't going to be any drops hitting him on towards the south, up towards the north. And Innovation, on the other side of things, doesn't mind playing it calm. This is one of the moves that we were talking about here from MMA. Yeah. But it's instantly spotted. Innovation is on lockdown.
This is the time that MMA needs to make something happen, because if he doesn't attack sometime soon here, Innovation is going to catch up on supply, he's going to max out, and then it becomes so much more difficult to actually fight. So he needs to make something happen now. He's going to set up, I think, a big attack on the 3rd base and maybe a big drop in the main at the same time. The thing is, he's only got a single Medivac up there. MMA. He might just siege down there, fully knowing that there's a sensor tower and turrets, and scan and snipe them.
Yeah.
In which case, the defense is negated for some time. Yeah, he's going for that.
Looks
Look
like
at it.
Yeah. If he can remove a little bit of vision from his opponent, that'd be nice, but at least draw him out of position. That'll be okay as well. Gonna drop the scan. He sees how many tanks are there. He will be able to try and drop across this. The SCVs are trying desperately to get to those siege tanks, but he's actually blocking himself off with the supply depot he had there. The missile turrets were able to push that away, and Innovation will survive now after losing a few workers.
Yeah, lost a few SCVs, but not the end of the world. MMA really wants to do some damage. He has to, like I said, if he sits back, he's going to be in so much trouble. He needs to start on, I guess, working on a 4th here at the same time, potentially the gold as well. Innovation is starting to mass a really scary army there, Kairos.
He realized he couldn't get his tanks out, and they will be sacrificed pretty much. Bio is just going to try and come back, but there is no way the Bio alone up towards the top there can take on that mech army.
Yeah, he's going to start taking that gold base there, MMA, just now. Right now, in the unit count, we have just 2 tanks for MMA, 8 for Innovation there. And MMA not quite able to find a single weakness in the defense of Innovation so far. He's going to keep on looking, though. He has to.
Yeah, and that's why we're seeing Innovation adding on the sensor tower once again. It is quite the gas investment, but it's very, very important, a gas investment.
He's going to have Medivacs at the top to work with this time around. So if he actually flies all the way at the corner at the top of the map, he can actually go past that turret and drop everything in the main and start doing a lot of damage, and at the same time attack the 3rd base again potentially, or even the 4th base that Innovation is already attempting in this game.
Oh, could shut down this base quite easily. Those Marines stimmed up will do a lot of damage to that. SCV's gonna have to reroute out, they would die as well, so that's a lovely pickup here. Innovation underestimated MMA's position, and he gets himself a free command center.
Yeah, got a little bit overeager here with that attempt on the 4th base. MMA, I'm a little bit surprised that he doesn't try to attack into this army from multiple sides, but I guess he knows that if Innovation siege on time, it's going to be really hard for this to work. So he still wants to, I guess, wait. I think if Innovation moves out, MMA might just drop inside of Innovation's base and play for the base trade. Because he's starting to have a lot of bases, Kailaris. He's got the goal now.
Yeah.
Starting to work on that 5th base on the top right-hand side, and he fully knows that right now Innovation is only on 3 bases. So he's going to keep it in lockdown on those 3 bases.
Yeah, always just posing a threat, just trying to push on towards up to the top, just establishing an economy behind all of this. Innovation hasn't had room to breathe as he sets up command centers everywhere now.
Base number 6 now starting for MMA. Doesn't choose to throw away units. The thing is, if he went for a drop, as much as I said he needed to, if he loses a lot, then the counter-attack can be really deadly from Innovation, because Innovation is supposed to defend quite easily against this. If he actually gets the fight, and now he's going to corner a big chunk of this army.
That's huge. MMA needs to be making something else happen elsewhere, but this entire force is going to melt away here. Innovation having caught this out. Brilliant move by him, but MMA, can he do something with the other portion of his army? He needs to lift up, he needs to try and do something now, otherwise he will be in a terrible spot.
There's so many turrets. He's going to lose everything if he tries to drop. There's even tanks already sieging the main. MMA, massive blunder. They are getting caught out on the map. He's going to be losing a lot of units. And Innovation, I wouldn't be surprised if he started to go on the offensive here in a second.
And it would be a good window too if he does, because those 4 starports kicking in. If MMA is able to kind of find a window for that transition, fantastic for him. But he needs to keep the threat on the other side. MMA somehow needs to use this paltry force here to try and threaten.
MMA made 4 more starports in his main. Right now, he's adding on a bunch of tech labs, a bunch of reactors. I think he's ready to do that air transition here in a second. With a lot of Banshees and a lot of Vikings as well.
That force of MMA is drawing back Innovation here. He needs to buy himself some time. He's going to get onto top of some of these siege tanks. A little bit vulnerable, not really having many hellbats with them all. Drops from Marauder forwards here to close that gap. Good move here by MMA to try and buy him more time.
Is he going to buy enough time though? Because this is going to be defended there in a second. Even though Innovation's taking a long time here to finally come back and defend this, I'm pretty sure he's going to want a counter-attack right behind this army supply right now. Innovation starting to pull a little bit ahead, 114 against 90.
I think he might have to go. Anything else just doesn't seem feasible here for Innovation. He has lost a little bit. Of course, his economy is still up and running very, very nicely.
I think he should know that he's on less bases, so the economy of MMA is really going to start to spiral out of control. And we now have Raven production starting, Kailaris, with all of the upgrades that go with it here.
Yeah, Corvid Reactor, high-sec auto tracking, just being thrown down here for those Ravens, and it was Innovation that started these Ravens from before MMA, meaning that he's going to be rounding out the idea of that Sky Terran, and he actually finds himself extra tanks here.
He's buying so much time here with his run-bys, and you might think that, you know, this is not worth it, but in the end, even if those units eventually die, they'd still do some damage, and they force Innovation back every single time. So MMA is buying a lot of time.
Right now, MMA trying to play the TVT of his life, considering he's going up against Innovation. Of course, he's had some...
He might have to go into a Fusion Core, I think.
Yeah, I think
just Banshees and Vikings, like if there's a few Thors added on, it's going to be pretty hard.
I mean, if we look at the upgrades, he doesn't have anywhere near the right upgrades that he wants to if he wants to control the sky with just Viking and Raven against Viking Raven. Innovation at the moment is very, very propelled forwards in that regard.
MMA is richer, though. He's got 66 walkers spread out across more bases.
Just needs time to catch up a little bit if he wants to go down that path, but he hasn't used his starports yet at all. He's neglected them a little bit in favor of just keeping the pressure on his opponent with the bio to start things off.
They're going to be trying to snipe some turrets up there. There's a tank as well that's really going to be helping in killing this.
Good little poke down towards the bottom as well as up towards the top. He managed to be pushed away though. Siege tanks starting to accumulate here for MMA. Okay, clean that up.
Pick up, no?
It would have been nice to, yeah. I think just get a few out of there.
Innovation sending everything behind this. Look, he's ready to attack. He's going to start on sieging that bottom side base. I wonder, does MMA take the fight or does he counter attack here? That's going to be the big question. And he actually should start getting some sensor towers of his own here, I think.
Innovation's army quality is just far, far superior here than MMA. Unless a huge 360 flank comes in, I don't think it's going to be the case here at the moment.
MMA wants to base straight. He's going across the map. He knows that fighting this army is going to be too hard, especially in this tight choke. So he's going to go across the map. But there's already a PF there and quite a few tanks already sieged.
Yeah, if you can thin out the numbers, this would be great here for Innovation. He was on lockdown, doesn't mind about going for the base trade at all for himself. He still has Ravens behind this. Quite a lot of the bio still survives, so it's going to try and shred up some of these buildings. Yeah. But Innovation still has a huge army over at the other side. It's an imposing, crazy army.
The defensive position here by Innovation kills so much. Army supply, MMA is down to 107 against 137 here for Innovation, who's still sieging tanks up in his main. He's going to be ready to receive these units, kill even more of them, and across the map, he's got a massive army to work with, and Ravens in particular, plus Banshee, so these tanks here by MMA on the right-hand side, they're going to be dealt with eventually.
Both players actually losing a few of these units here. 2 of the siege tanks that have come out. Also over to the left-hand side, dropping on a lot of that, but it cleans up the majority of the bio here from MMA.
Look at the supply. Look at the supply, Kailash. He lost so much. MMA is so much trouble there behind this. We have Innovation on top of his production. So, I mean, how does he get out at this point? It's going to be so hard.
Innovation is really in the driving seat now, especially since he has so many more Ravens than anything that we're seeing here from MMA. It means that he can just stock up some energy and then be able to launch out Seeker missiles if anything comes near. If he finds all of these bases as well, he is in the best position.
I mean, that siege is never going to end there by Innovation. He sends some Hellbats in the third base of MMA here, ready to fry some of those SCVs. MMA is stuck in his base. He's trying to stay in this. He might just go for an evacuation there with the medivacs, but eventually I feel like he has to go for a flank here from behind on this army because he needs to save his production. There is no way he can win if he doesn't save this production, but he's going for a counter-attack somehow.
This is total desperation. Total desperation, Todd. You're completely right. This is... I'm not sure how he's supposed to make this work at this point, but he'll get himself at least a planetary fortress. And he's going to send some of those units back to try and defend that. But Innovation still has massive amounts of production. This Bioforce here is pinned in. This is the last... This is like Starship Troopers, but humans against humans. It's really weird. It's in the corner, and he can't do anything. It's encroaching slowly into him. Oh my god, so much damage being done. He's losing all of his production facilities as well. 140 army supply against 40. GG, game number 1 goes to Innovation. And he shows why he is an absolute machine, why he is a monster. He will not let go. The defense was strong, even when he was being hit on the left, on the right. He knew exactly when to go and when to punish MMA.
Oh, that was very impressive here by Innovation, man. The defense the whole time. Like I said, MMA had to make something happen. He kept on trying to get in there, but Innovation just solid enough not to really take any damage. And for the amount of aggression and the amount of attempts that we saw on killing walkers there and even units, it's incredible that after a few minutes of game, only 3 SCVs had died. I can't even begin to emphasize how massive that was, that both of these players, they had the perfect defense for such a long time here in this game. And in this case, it's Innovation that definitely got the better end of it eventually, because when you go mech, you definitely don't want to take any economical damage. You want to keep on building up, you know, that tank count, the Hellbats, Vikings, everything. He wanted to 3 bases very easily, and then from there, never really was scared. You know, these counterattacks, they were cool and they bought a little bit of time for MMA, but as long as Innovation can assemble his ideal army that he can max out and be on the, like, what was it, like 3-2 upgrades, he's going to be pretty happy to take a fight eventually.
Definitely. Well, game number 1 going over to Innovation. Can MMA solve this mech puzzle? Find out after the break. Game number 2 between Innovation and MMA about to begin here in the semi-finals of the Intel Extreme Masters. Innovation showed amazing lockdown there in that game, and also great understanding of knowing when to go against someone who's trying to run circles around you but being, in the end, unsuccessful.
Yeah, he knew exactly what MMA's plan was before MMA probably even knew himself, and in the end just defended perfectly the whole time and took a very solid first map win. But MMA, I can only believe that he's going to be trying harder than this here in map number 2.
I certainly think so. Let's get into it. It's going to be Coda for our second match here in our second semi-final. MMA is looking to unlock the secrets of Innovation, because at the moment, Innovation looking phenomenal here. The Intel Extreme Masters down to the bottom right-hand corner. It is our blue Terran representing SK Telecom T1. It is Innovation.
Spent the entire morning playing ladder, back-to-back games, guys. That was impressive. Didn't take a single break.
I watched a lot of that as well. Watched a lot of it. Up to the top left-hand corner, we have our red Terran representing Team Acer. It is MMA.
MMA, who already got to study a little bit Innovation's Terran versus Terran yesterday when he played against 4GG. 5 whole games of it.
Yeah.
Definitely very recent ones as well, but sadly for him, couldn't quite capitalize here on that. And I feel like build order-wise, he's going to have to be maybe a little bit more refined and try to abuse that predictable build order here of Innovation.
And what do you think? I mean, looking at that previous TVT there by MMA, out of the ones that he's played this tournament, I felt that that particular game just then was the best TVT we've seen of MMA all tournament, but yet he still wasn't able to break the robotic nature here of Innovation. What's he going to need to do to try and cripple Innovation?
I think something very different, so like maybe a bigger commitment on the offense, be it with a big drop. That could be risky, but have also, like, you know, a high risk, high rewards potential. Or, like I said, go for there was a time actually in the last game where I think he could have gone for a big timing with, you know, attacking from 2 sides and dropping on top of the army of Innovation at the same time. He could have faked a drop and then came back and done this. And in this case, I do think that there is a chance it could have worked, because yesterday we saw 4GG win a game like this. Like, surely it must be inspirational for MMA to watch this and, you know, recognize that there is a way that you can beat Innovation in TVT, and that's one of the good ways, I think, when he plays mech like this.
I really like to watch Innovation's mech in Terran versus Terran, because it's not only the fact that he does separate his tanks up. When he gets into a 3-base scenario, he separates his tanks up to go towards the 3rd base and be able to have that on lockdown as well as his main, but he adds on a lot of missile turrets around the 3rd as well as his main. So even if you do try something like MMA did there with the drop into those siege tanks, you're almost guaranteed to lose all your medevacs. So you're almost guaranteed to take damage yourself, and potentially big damage if it goes slightly awry. Innovation seems to always have every single location covered, with the main chunk of his army in the middle to just help out wherever it needs to be.
I think he has not only just great map awareness, but also he has, you know, this spider sense thingy where, like, you kind of know what most of the timings are going to be. And he seems to ask himself that question a lot, which is a very important question. What's my opponent going to do next? And without having that information, sometimes you can just kind of think about it for a moment, and you're going to be able to come up with what you think is the most likely thing your opponent's doing. And sometimes, just because you've played so many games and you're very experienced and really smart in this case, you know, as Innovation, you realize, well, he's not really breaking through my defense right now, so he's probably going to be focusing on the drops. That's when you go and look for those big medivac drops with your Vikings, with your Raven. You add more turrets, you make sure that you don't die to this. Always asking yourself your question when you think you're ahead, this one question: what can I lose to right now? What will hurt me? I think it's a great way to play StarCraft, and we've seen a lot of these players do fantastic with this entire tournament, you know, in situations where they looked like they were really far ahead, but there was still 1 or 2 things that could have hurt them.
And I think for the most part, looking at the tournament here as a whole, Innovation's will is very, very unlikely to be broken by anybody else but, I would say, Sue in this tournament. Sue is pretty much the biggest threat to Innovation here, but MMA has always had these sparks of brilliance in really, really intense situations. So can he be an extra factor here to break someone like Innovation? We're getting back into the game now here, into game number 2. It seems that our problems are fixed, and MMA is going to have an uphill battle to deal with when it comes to Innovation.
He went for a gas first here, which will be scouted once again because Innovation, he likes to scout every single game here, no matter what. He knows that if he can see what his opponent's up to, he can react accordingly. And I mean, when you're so solid and you're so good mechanically, unless I feel like you get really surprised, you shouldn't really lose, in a longer game. So I really respect the fact that he scouts in so many games in a row. A lot of players, they don't want to lose those minerals, but Innovation knows that it's totally going to be worth it. The amount of games he's going to win just by taking the information there every single time.
Yeah, I mean, if you can back it up with his mechanics later on, there's no reason not to here. Innovation always somehow seems to have a few more units than his opponents, is always seemingly outmaneuvering his opponents. MMA tried vastly there in game number 1 to do the same, try and outmaneuver Innovation. But in the end, it was unsuccessful, despite every little jab he gave him.
I think Innovation, when he sees gas first, a lot of the time he goes for a Widow Mine very quickly from his factory, and then he goes into a Raven, because gas first, you can very easily go into Banshee and all that, and a lot of the time he's going to want to be safe. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did something like that. And in this case, I think he'd do really well, especially if he gets it right, then he has the perfect defense, and from there he can propel his game, himself into the mid game in a really good position already.
And already we're seeing over in Innovation space that Starport going down, do all the old switcheroo, and we'll see what he wants to do. He can go down the Clo Banshee route, especially since he's got this double gas now available to him. And at the same time, he could just flip it on his head and play a very defensive start. If he goes for the Raven, he would be shutting down MMA. And I think usually, if Innovation feels comfortable with the defense going into the mid game, he's still going to be very, very comfortable there as well.
What do you think he gets? Banshee or Raven?
Let's go with Raven this time.
A lot of the time he's actually really favored that Raven, and yeah, he's gonna be that once again there for Innovation. Usually follows this up here with the Cloak Banshee shortly behind this, which is funny because it comes at a later timing, and it's almost as if you don't really expect it anymore when you're facing him here as MMA.
Here comes the drop. Raven with energy later on with auto turret could help out a little bit, but it's going to be up to the other units he has available to him to try and shut this down. He's got plenty of Marines on the way. The reactor on towards the factory does slow his unit production down a little bit while this is going on, but
yeah, both players are going to start the command center here momentarily. Innovation goes for the in-base one, fully knowing that it's going to be easier for him to defend if he just sits there. And MMA, since he's the aggressor, he's going to get his down the ramp. That Widow Mine, man.
Yeah, gotta be careful. Gotta be really, really careful. Oh, okay, so one Hellion's gonna end up falling. At least he knows that the charge has gone from
he's
that,
trying
though.
to kill the Widow Mine here by attacking the supply depot. That's cute, but
try him.
He's gonna take too long, I think. And the depot will die before auto turret is being dropped. MMA is losing a bunch of units. He needs to fall back. Widow Mine against Widow Mine, guys.
And will have to be forced away as well. The auto turret caused a great set of problems there for MMA, and that's why we highlighted it before. It's not something used too often in defensive situations, but with the way MMA came around to the looped around towards that ramp, there was only really one way up, and auto turret really paid dividends.
Tank production already starts behind this here for MMA. That's very early. It's really making me think that he might want to go for a push later on when he has a few ones, because usually like in this kind of TVT you get a lot of Hellions out, you make sure that you keep up with your opponents, and Innovation is actually going to have an opportunity to maybe counter-attack here if he shuts this down really hard.
Looking to just push this away. Thankfully for him, having the Vikings out and about now, it's very, very nice. With the Banshee follow-up, it's kind of cool to always see these little delayed Banshees.
The second factory here, I really like this build by Innovation, I have to say. If I played Terran, I'd go for this build every time. Like, this is super refined. The way it goes for the Raven, and then behind this always adds the second factory. Like, most Terrans, they'd go up to like 3 factories, and then when they have another base, or if they want to commit to 2 bases for some time, they go up to 5, and then later on 4 bases to like 7. But Innovation is like, I'll just get 2. So that I can make both Hellions and tanks, with a lot of Hellions at first, get Blue Flame as well, since you don't need to research Siege anymore. And I mean, he does really well with that build, almost every single time. But right now it's MMA who has a supply lead, who almost catches this Banshee there.
Yeah, and the thing is that he really doesn't have any anti-air at all to deal with this. He's going to actually force this away. He has the Vikings, but they were negated in positioning. He's going to have to drop the scan to deal with this. He does have energy for it, and should
gonna make it out.
Could be cleared. Get away.
And eBay only started now, so that's gonna be another scan here needed to clean this up.
But another Banshee is on the way as well, so 2 in total here. He can't have enough energy to scan both locations right now.
He's gonna start taking a lot of damage.
Lay that one down.
30 probes to 36 here. MMA cannot afford to lose that many probes himself.
No.
Innovation. He's just going to take a great lead there.
Yeah, brilliant lead. This is great here for Innovation, and it's not like he's done anything too gimmicky at all. He just followed up a Raven start with a Banshee.
And he almost always does that. I'm not sure how MMA wasn't prepared there, really.
Tough stuff. Tough stuff here for MMA. He has taken a little bit of a kick to the economy. At least he'll find this Banshee and hunt it down. Shut that away.
Yeah, MMA is moving across the map. He's going to be super committed here to doing damage with this attack. It's 4 tanks.
That's a lot of
against
tanks.
0. The first one is down the way for Innovation, but it's going to take quite some time to come out. So he's going to rely a lot on his Hellions there to hold this.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And MMA has a bunch of millivacs to heal.
This kind of makes a little bit more sense now. Having 4 tanks this early on, if he really wants to push for that and try and get aggressive, he's really cut corners, or a few corners there, to have this kind of army.
And there's actually a Widow Mine there for Innovation. If he was to move that towards MMA there, a good detonation could do a lot. Because I'm afraid he's going to get scanned there at the ramp almost every single time.
He's looking for big damage, but I mean, how many Vikings does he have? He needs to make sure that he's going to have control of the skies, and right now he doesn't have control of the skies. 5 Vikings against 2, with a Raven there as well. This is going to be difficult. That's why he's landed the Vikings. He's pinning a lot of MMA's hopes on this. The Auditors soaking up damage at the front as well, and he's actually going to... it looks like Innovation's going to be fine here.
Yeah, he has completely control with the amount of Vikings that he has. He kept the Vikings and the Raven on the top right-hand side. I think MMA might not have seen it, so he kind of got in there a little bit too quickly. And the concave setup by Innovation pre-fight was perfect. He killed enough to just go for a follow-up move out here to clean this up very, very nicely.
Innovation completely understands the situation. He powers him back. 49 workers against 36. GG. MMA commits so much to that aggression. And Innovation has all the answers. Even just a Viking count alone, even just the air control alone there from Innovation was able to power on through that.
He's an absolute beast. The positioning of his army here, immaculate. Perfect positioning. He waited for Innovation, for MMA, sorry, to go up that ramp. And he had the Hellions in an arc. And they hit every single unit that MMA had there in terms of bio. There was the tanks behind shooting, but in the end, if you're able to hold that first wave as nicely as Innovation did, he could even land those Vikings and finally move out and did really well for himself. That was really impressive there.
Yeah.
He's looking unstoppable right now. Like I said, MMA needs to pick it up there. He needs to really step it up, start do better in terms of everything. Build orders, aggression, decision making. And from the first game, he didn't make the correct adjustments at all.
That build from MMA really feels like it was just a wild card. Throw it out there, try and shut your opponent down, because after the first game, it looked like, if you're going to do something like that, it really makes it look a little bit desperate here from MMA. I don't want to call it desperation, because we know of the caliber of a player that MMA is. But when you're going up against someone like Innovation, what are you supposed to do? With the amount of mid to late game lockdown he's got, with the control that he has in the early game, MMA is looking to do something a bit wild.
I think you need to give 110%, and so far I feel like it's been quite far from that. So I think MMA is definitely capable of doing more. Fantasy, he was down 0-2, he brought it back to 2-2. Can MMA do the same here? Because if he loses this map here on Iron Fortress, map number 3, it's going to be Innovation moving on to the grand finals to face his teammate Sue.
A lot of people are expecting it, but can MMA cause the disruption here? He's done it certainly in the past, but Innovation at the moment looks absolutely on point as we get into Iron Fortress for game number 3. Up to the top right-hand corner, it is the blue Terran. It is the machine himself representing SK Telecom T1. It is Innovation. And up to the top left-hand corner, we have our red Terran. He has one more shot, one more golden shot at being able to keep himself alive in this tournament. Representing Team Acer, it is MMA.
Needs to make the proper adjustments, Skylaris. It's not like Innovation is mixing it up, and changing build every game. He has one main build and he keeps on using.
Yep.
Even our Protoss player picked up on that and
before
kind of figured it out completely. So he's a Terran player. He should be able to, kind of think about what you can do in terms of properly countering this build order. And now, already being down 2 maps, even if he did that, there's a chance Innovation actually plays it differently. And MMA once again gonna go for the gas first. Innovation wouldn't be surprised if he went again for the gas 13, and yeah, that's just gonna be it. He does not want to change it up. It's funny actually because this morning I asked him about that. I was like, you played 5 maps against 4G yesterday. Are you maybe worried that MMA saw it? And he was like, no, I'm not worried. It's just like, you know, there's the long edge barrier as well, but I could really feel like in his voice that he was basically saying that he's gonna do the same no matter what, and he's gonna win anyway.
Yeah.
Which in this case so far is the truth. It's what's happening there.
I remember we also spoke to James yesterday, Mal, who, you know, he translated a few words from Innovation after the game for us as well. And Innovation against 4GG, you know, as much as it was a close series in terms of score, Innovation was like a little bit bewildered that he lost games against 4GG.
Yeah.
He felt that he made a few mistakes later on in the games that he definitely shouldn't have done, because he knows that he is of godlike caliber in this matchup right now. Breaking Innovation here in Terran versus Terran at the moment is almost unstoppable.
And look at this. Innovation is actually going to mix it up here. Reaper opener. Instead of doing the same thing that he does pretty much every single time. I think this must just be one Reaper into the same thing pretty much.
No.
But he's not taking the second gas, so I guess not. He's just going to play it a lot more standard, go for a second command center. And I guess he's also map dependent, you know, in terms of which build order he actually goes for. And in this case, MMA, I'm not sure what he's thinking right now, but it's going to be getting really scary in a second. He's going for his own second gas. It feels like MMA might be playing the build that Innovation has been playing against him.
It seems so, yeah. It's a little
Do you
bit
think he goes for a Banshee here with this, or?
I would say he would try and go for a Banshee, but
It's not good.
no, this is really not good.
Oh my God.
He's going to lose an SCV already.
It's so funny because MMA,
Oh my.
he was so not expecting a Reaper. He was like, well, Innovation doesn't go for Reapers, right? He gets
Yeah.
a bunch of Marines, like a Widowmine or a Hellion, and then goes to a Raven or a Banshee. So he's like, there's not going to be a Reaper. I guess one Marine and I'm fine. I can make sure that SCV doesn't get in there. One Reaper gets in there, already gets 2 kills. One Marine and one SCV. Innovation already having the info as well. He's going to be killing even more.
Oh no. If he's able to get another Marine and another SCV, there should be, where did the Hellion go? It needs to come back and help on out. At least it will be able to come along, but at least he gets himself a Marine to finish things off. I mean, he got all the information with the Reaper he wanted anyway, so it doesn't really matter at this point.
Innovation is a beast, not just with mechanics, but like mind game wise, in terms of build order. He's super refined, makes nearly no mistakes.
I mean, when we watch Innovation play, if you just looked at his face at the moment, yes, he does look calm in pretty much all of his games.
Yeah.
But looking at him now, that looks like the calmest he's ever been, because he has so much information in this game. He knows that he's going to be hit by aggression pretty soon, but he understands the way to be able to control that.
Yeah, he knows every single timings as well. Like, he's making Easy Bay perfectly on time. He's going to be able to start turrets. Going to have a second base much earlier than his opponent, and then from there he can go into whatever he wants, be it Hellions or tanks. He can go into his own Banshee if he wants to, already having the starport that just finished. He goes into a Raven, a Viking, sorry, to make sure he can shoot down these Banshees that he thinks are going to be hitting him. And in this case, he's right. MMA went for a single Banshee, cloakless, and behind this follows it up with the Raven.
Rapid eye movement, slight jerk of the head there from MMA as he's looking to find a little bit of a swing on in here with the Banshees. He knows as desperation is going to be setting in once again against Innovation. He finds himself a SCV kill. Second one will follow it up, but obviously Innovation had SCVs ready to be able to finish up that missile turret as soon as he did. So constant precautions here from Innovation.
Oh, there's even a Widowmine on that natural by Innovation. Perfectly placed there.
Ooh.
If a Banshee was to fly there, and usually it's the one spot where you can pick off SCVs and you're out of range of that turret, it's going to get blown up.
Especially considering the spawning locations, right? It's a great little spot to do that. This rotationally symmetrical map, your natural is a little bit closer to your opponent's main. Usually a good opportunity for MMA to try and get him, but Innovation is covering all the checkpoints.
This is interesting. MMA, I think he recognized that he was behind, so he's like, well, I need to try something. So he went for the third command center, and then behind this, drops a second factory. It's going to be mech against mech.
Whoa, MMA. Well, I did say a wild card. And here in game number 3, you know, he's tried bio, he tried early aggression, now it's going to be mech. Now it gets spotted, does the mech. So Innovation, I mean, he could happily just go down the same path himself and be able to hit it head to head.
Yeah. Innovation up on spawning that third command center by MMA. He says, well, you have a third command center, you want to play mech?
Okay.
Much obliged, my friend. He drops his own third command center. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be really happy to be heading into this kind of game here, because that's really supposed to be a lot more his comfort zone than MMA's.
This is what I was not expecting from Innovation, though. This Marine Widowmine drop that's going to be heading on around. There is some units there to be able to defend it, though. So MMA is really taking great precautions himself.
This could be really bad.
Yeah,
it could be good, but I don't know. I don't think so. I don't see it. With the units being so close here, he might just evacuate here when he spots these Vikings. Yeah, he's too good. Innovations.
Yeah.
He's a machine, man.
Gets pushed away, but at least he doesn't lose it. Leaves that later on for a threat. Maybe even just brings that back for a little bit more defensive capabilities.
Innovation drops double armory, man.
Oh, that's
He's waited for this his entire life.
That's the call out right there.
Somebody to make the mistake to play a mech versus mech matchup against him.
Uh-oh. MMA. What have you set yourself up for here? He's going to have to bring out a fantastic mech game. That being said, because he had his third command center earlier, he can now start to establish himself a good economy to try and rival Innovation's greedy position with that double armory.
To be honest, I really like that MMA went for something bold like this, you know, rather than just playing, you know, maybe a little bit uninspired, demotivated. He's like, well, you're beating me, but maybe if I try something drastic, like playing your own style against yourself, playing a little bit gritty here and there, somehow I'm going to be able to pull ahead. And right now, to be honest, he's not doing bad at all. MMA, even though he's 2 SCVs behind, supply-wise, he's a little bit ahead, so that means quite a bit more army.
Doing well so far is MMA. He's holding his own, he's holding his position in this game, and likewise, there hasn't been a third base taken just yet by Innovation, who is flying over in that direction now, and we could easily see a very scary split map situation, but drop to the back here of this mineral line, knowing that his opponent's army is out of position now towards the middle of the map. 4 Marines trying to get as many SCVs as possible, picks up 3 of them, heading into the main base now, knowing that the encroaching army is going to be slowly on top of that natural.
It's funny actually, because MMA in this game is the one who flew his barracks at the top of the map to spot any kind of drops that will head there, and Innovation kept his one at home. Remember, yesterday he kept on losing it against 4GG, but I guess he's learned. He wanted to make sure he could start his factories on time this time.
And he'll just be able to set himself up nice and sturdy here. 55 workers apiece at the moment.
There is a very few very good sieging options there, by the way, on this map. You know, there's a lot of paths that you can attack through. You can actually siege that natural of Innovation from up there. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Funka. And even that third base from behind the mineral line on the other side, if he was to siege there, MMA, he would start shooting down those SCVs and really put Innovation on the back foot.
Ooh. If you're going to take a Hellion versus Hellion, you better not retreat. You better not try and get out of there, because you're going to lose a lot.
Oh my God.
Trying to keep them alive. Nobody's really crossed the T just yet. Very, very close in terms of kills off. And the one at the back, actually, they took a lot of AoE damage because they were right behind one another. And Innovation feels confident about chasing down. That one Hellion stopped over, though. And looks like MMA, almost going to come out on top. Very, very close battle.
This was crazy. This is almost a draw as well.
Yeah.
Eventually, that guy will be suicided there. And MMA comes out on top here just a little bit.
Suicided, but got himself the information as to how well developed that third base is there for Innovation. So he'll at least get himself a consolation prize off of that.
Both players right now on 5 factories, and they're just getting a ton of units out. But Innovation being on the double armory, he just started 2-2 against an MMA that's about to complete the +1 attack upgrade. Upgrade-wise, MMA is going to be so far behind. Even though he's done a lot of things well in this game, that's the one thing that I think is going to be really hard for him to, I guess, compete with.
He's skimped. He's skimped because he doesn't quite know the mech versus mech matchup as well as Innovation, who knows he can get away with these kind of liberties.
Yeah.
Obviously, MMA is moving into a bit more of an aggressive spot, but those Hellions are rerouting around. I couldn't say that sentence for the life of me, and trying to find an opening, but MMA is not going to give him them.
Very good job there by MMA, making sure he's got a few units here back at home so he doesn't lose a ton of SCVs all of a sudden. In Innovation, I really like the way he plays, you know, just in general. He always looks for a weakness, goes across the map with some harassment units, and then if he sees that he's out of his depth and that there's too much to defend, he always pulls back on time.
Blue Flame versus Blue Flame this time, and the Hellions did outnumber. Always trying to be a bit cute there, picking them up. 2 command centers for each team.
Yeah, for both of them. They started at the same time as well. It's like they're communicating telepathically right now, and both players adding on a few CCs there.
Ooh.
So that they can have some extra scanning ability or even maybe fly to a fourth base, which in this case is already dropped on the location there by Innovation.
They are moving forwards now, but at the same time, we're seeing double starport go down for MMA, so maybe he's not really willing to take this fight just yet, just kind of flexing his muscles a bit while trying to transition on, because if he can get these 2 starports out himself and really start gathering up a good air army, that could work out in his favor.
I wonder if Innovation might try and fight here with the 2-2 when it hits, realizing that he's so far ahead in upgrades than MMA. Because if it hits, I mean, he'd have a huge advantage. But at the same time, though, he'd have to attack into siege tanks most likely, because the map control here is definitely MMS in the middle of the map.
More and more command centers. Hellion will find this base down towards the bottom right. And speaking of corners, from down to the bottom left, he is going for an expansion, a cheekier one, just to try and get a bit more.
We've been overusing that word, man.
What? Hey, I'm one of the original creators of this. Everyone just kind of jumped on the Brit bandwagon. But
the
whatever.
Brit bandwagon, okay.
Yeah.
You're the OG that came up with Cheeky.
Yeah.
Fair enough, Lars.
I'm like, actually, no, now that I've said that, I sound like a right hipster, so I shouldn't really say it. But anyway, Siege going to be moving towards the middle here, and Innovation is looking to power away MMA's position in the middle.
Innovation there with the strong move, fully knowing that there was a lot of units down that ramp here at the Watchtower. He's actually going to get engaged into here.
Someone sees up. He actually got a lot of free Hellions there, did Innovation, as they were trying to get back around to support the tanks. This is a disastrous position here for MMA. Innovation really cut that position in two, and he's got 2-2 as well behind it. He knows that his opponent on the right-hand side here is trying to loop around because MMA doesn't really have much of an opportunity. But Innovation's going for the jugular. He is going in for the kill here.
He's already 2-2 against just the 2-0 of MMA.
Oh my god.
And MMA, I can't believe he engaged into a siege position here by Innovation with so many tanks off the ramp that are already sieged there and killed everything that he had instantly.
Oh, Innovation, just amazing, immaculate play. Mech versus Mech, no way. Innovation moves on to the grand finals after showing some masterful TvT strategist play. Fantastic stuff. And that means now we get our final, which is, of course, going to be what a lot of people predicted going into this tournament. It's going to be the SK Telecom boys, Sue versus Innovation. We haven't seen it all tournament long up until this point. And oh boy, Todd, am I excited, because these two are going to be able to create some fireworks.
Yeah, fantastic performance here by these two, and MMA here that you see on screen. He can be disappointed, but I'm sure he'll be back stronger. He had a nice run, to be honest. Top 4 in an Intel Extreme Masters is no easy thing to achieve. And in this case, Innovation topples him and in fashion as well. Man, it's so crazy to think that it's so even, and then in 1 second, just like one wrong decision like this to engage into those tanks, Innovation just like, he went for the jugular right after. You said it perfectly. Like, he knew how to close it out instantly.
Yeah. Chased down the deer, jumped on it, and was able to finish it off pretty
Didn't take
well.
you for the hunter, Kailas.
Oh, I've always been a hunter, man. I've always been a hunter. Anyway, that does it for us here at the caster's desk. We're going to head over to the expert desk to find out what they think about the dismantling there of MMA from Innovation.
It was a true dismantling, Kalaris. A 3-0 for Innovation. Absolutely domination from the SK Telecom player. Joined on the desk once again by the boys. A fantastic performance by Innovation. And you know what? I did believe in MMA. I really did, but he was outclassed there.
I'm sure we were all hoping for a lot closer of a match, and yeah, it really just ended up going the way Innovation wanted it to go. You know, it got to the late game, it got to mech versus mech on some of those games, which it's kind of a surprise MMA wanted to go there, because I feel like it was always going to be an uphill battle for him in that kind of situation.
Yeah, definitely a sad performance from MMA, but I think the crowd gets the finals they've always wanted to have here in the Intel Extreme Masters. It's going to be Sue versus Innovation, a great final to have, Roddy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that MMA played pretty well, though, like especially in the first game on Terraform. I really liked the way that he was playing, and he was playing with a lot of speed, high pace, really trying to make something happen, but Innovation is freaking good in this style, like absolutely amazing. Just missile turrets everywhere, always saw it coming, was always a trap or on track of the movement of MMA. So despite the fact that it was a 3-0, I think that's a little bit deceiving, because I don't think it was all Innovation. I do think that MMA tried, and I don't think he played poorly. It's just Innovation is on another level right now. But yeah, well, that final, like you said, Sean, maybe that guy will be able to step up to the task.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We'll continue our discussions on this match, but for now we do have the winner's interview on stage with Chobra.
All right, well, here we are. with, of course, our winner from the semifinal. It's going to be Innovation. Another big round of applause for Innovation as he goes up to the finals here at the Intel Extreme Masters. So, we got to talk about that third game, of course. I think it was Todd just saying Innovation's been waiting for this moment for someone to challenge him mech versus mech so that he could just crush them in that game. And we did see that dismantling come through. See what he thought as soon as he figured that out.
저희 일단 결승 진출 축하드리고요. 저희 이번 세 번째 경기에서 뭐 이번 이제 준결승전에서 계속 볼 때 저희 MMA 선수가 계속 다른 빌드를 시도를 했는데 마지막 경기에서는 똑같이 메카닉 빌드로 이제 도전을 했어요. 근데 워낙 이신영 선수 메카닉 빌드로 자신감이 있어 하는 선수이고 뭐 원래 워낙 잘하는 선수인데 딱 메카닉 대 메카닉 빌드다 그렇게 알아차리셨을 때 이건 내가 이겼다 그런 자신감이 있으셨나요?
네, 그냥 제가 메카 대 메카를 좀 자신 있어 하는 편이어가지고 좀 편하게 해준 것 같고 또 제가 이렇게 좀 째는 식으로 운영을 했는데 상대가 그거를 잘 몰랐던 것 같아요.
Yeah, so yeah, like you said, you know, I'm pretty confident, comfortable when playing mech, and that definitely worked out in my favor. I could take it a little bit easier, I could relax a little bit. I was also playing a little bit aggressive at times, and I don't think MMA was reading how aggressive I was playing at certain times during the match, so it all worked out in my favor. You know, everything lined up in place. Now, that's also something to talk about, of course. Sue earlier saying, was a little worried about playing mech, but I think I got my practice against Fantasy. Innovation has played Fantasy also this tournament. We'll see what Innovation thinks about Sue saying that he's gotten enough practice going to the finals.
그러면 그 이전 준결승전에서 저희 어윤수 선수가 이번 대회 들어오면서 메칸 상대를 하는 거에 조금 걱정이 됐었는데 이번 준결승 통해서 정명 선수 통해서 충분히 준비가 된 것 같다, 연습이 된 것 같다 그렇게 말씀하셨어요. 그거에 대해서 뭐 어떻게 생각하세요? 이신영 선수 메카닉 좀 다르지 않나요?
네, 제가 하는 메카닉은 남들이랑 다르기 때문에 제가 완벽하게 하면 그 누구도 못 이긴다고 생각해요.
Yeah, you know, that's right. The way I play mech, it's different from everyone else. If I play it perfectly, I don't think anyone can beat me when I go that route. So that's something to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen. Well, one question remains, of course. Who's going to take it? Both are really hungry for this win. But we have to ask, is Sue going to go back to second place?
그러면 저희 그 어윤수 선수가 이제 결승전에서 기다리고 계신데 지금까지 캐스파컵 전까지는 어윤수 선수가 계속 꾸준히 2위만 하면 거의 이제 새로운 콩라인을 시작하시는 듯한 분위기였는데 이신영 선수가 다시 어윤수 선수를 2위로 꺾을 수 있나요?
한번 이겨봤던 상대이기도 하고 또 지금 게임이 좀 잘 되기도 하고 해서 충분히 이길 수 있다고 생각해요.
Well, I've beaten him before. I'm feeling great. I think I'm playing one of my better StarCraft this tournament. So I think that can happen. We'll find out, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, a big round of applause for Innovation for going to the finals, securing a spot in Katowice, and now getting ready to play against Sue. Sean and the boys, tell us what else did you think about this matchup? And of course, going forward to the grand finals.
Thank you very much, Joba, and congratulations there to Innovation, our next player to go through to the grand finals and also qualifying for the World Championship. For the Intel Extreme Masters, of course, will be played out early next year. Back on the desk of the boys, let's talk a little bit about that matchup then, the one we just saw before moving on to the grand finals. Innovation just unstoppable here today. He comes to Gamescom and he really does perform super impressively, Pig.
It was interesting. We were talking before the match about what can MMA do to stop Innovation. We knew Innovation was the favorite, and we said, oh, we could have some specific timings, try to get in there and disrupt him, play some bio, play the tactical game. And we saw MMA tried that from the start of the series, right? He played bio, he was coming in from all angles, expanding wildly across the map. But at a certain point, Innovation just got everything on lockdown, absolutely stopped taking any damage. And, you know, it would look like MMA would find a hole and that Medivacs would just boost in, drop Hellbats on top and kill everything.
Yeah.
And we saw it didn't quite work out. And in the next game, we went, okay, it's cool. Let's follow the plan. Let's go into this cool Marine tank timing. Fell on its face. And we saw only in the final game did MMA go into that mech, which I honestly feel he's been focusing on. I think he thinks this is the best way to play the matchup right now. But I think he just knew Innovation's better at me in mech better than me at this mech versus mech, and he said, I've got to try and mix it up, but sometimes you make the mistake of trying to do something too far out of your experience, too far out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And we saw Innovation. He was just so happy with every situation in those games. He was so comfortable, and he just steamrolled it away. So easy.
Yeah, and unfortunately MMA couldn't find the holes, but a player that may be able to find the weakness and the ways to exploit a teammate here, most importantly, is Sue, and that leads us into the grand finals here. It's going to be a best of 7. These guys going head-to-head in a position where there are no map vetoes. They're going to be playing all the maps if it goes the distance, and the way that these two shaped up throughout the tournament, this was always meant to be.
It was always meant to be, yeah. Definitely the two favorites of this tournament. Teammates as well, which complicates things even further, and it's going to be hard for Sue, I think, as we did see him struggle kind of against Fantasy when it came to dealing with mech. I think Innovations is a lot more refined, and also kind of a different transition to the late game, which is a lot stronger. We did see that one game with Fantasy as he went for Battle Cruises. Innovation has shown us he wants to do that every single game against Zerg. So hopefully Sue has kind of thought up something a little bit more robust, a little stronger to deal with that in the late game, or try and end it before then every time.
How many things does he really have up his sleeve though, Roddy?
Ooh, Innovations?
Sue.
I don't know, but I'm a little bit worried for him as well. Like Moonglade said, he definitely struggled on Terraform, and it was bad. And then he suddenly got an amazing position, but then when he fought an even stronger mech army, because there's like different tiers of the mech army, right? Like there's the early game, there's the mid game, and then there's like that super late game. And I think if it ever goes past 35 minutes and Innovation has 4 bases, find out, I think he's fine. Like I don't think Innovation is going to lose. And even that final game that Sue won, that one attack, it kind of caught Fantasy off guard, because he scanned 3 times and he saw 1 ultra. He's like, I'm fine, you know. But then suddenly 6 more showed up. If that wouldn't have happened, I think that game would have already been so much harder for Sue. So I'm a little bit worried. But then again, I mean, there is a reason why he's Sue. There is a reason why he's the highest ranked Zerg player in the world. Made it to so many GSL finals. So obviously he will have things ready. But I don't know, man.
Yeah, this is going to be just a great finals. I'm looking forward to it. And we are going to prepare ourselves for it now. The grand finals of the Intel Extreme Masters here from Gamescom is just around the corner. You don't want to be missing this one. So get onto Twitter, tell everyone all about it, and make sure if you just want a little bit of tidbits to see how the players have been playing so far, go to plays.tv and see your favorite players in action. Innovation played against Red earlier on in this tournament. There's a Zerg matchup for you to look at. He demolished him, and maybe he's going to bring that to the finals here as well. We're going to go to the grand finals. Before that, a quick break.